Let's be real. Who hasn't lost an hour or three to scrolling on social media, especially TikTok? It's become a totally normal part of our day. But here's the thing. When we let ourselves scroll for hours on end, we're not just wasting time. We're potentially messing with our minds and our mental health. So what really happens when we let this habit of endless scrolling take over? What's going on inside our brains when we do this every single day? Today we're diving deep into the 5 major negative effects this habit has on you. We'll get into the facts, starting with some of the more interesting things you see on the platform. TikTok has been getting a lot of heat lately, and it's not hard to see why. From bizarre trends to comments that make you question humanity. First, the normalization of terrible logic. Honestly, the first thing that makes me shake my head is the sheer volume of wild comments you see. My biggest worry is how this constant exposure affects our thinking. This leads to the first major impact on your brain. You start absorbing flawed logic. There's a psychological principle called the illusory truth effect. It states that the more we're exposed to a piece of information, the more likely we are to believe it's true, regardless of whether it's factual. The more a statement is repeated, the more true it feels. Now think about TikTok's algorithm, which is designed to keep you watching for hours. You're constantly bombarded with statements and opinions. Take this viral video, for example. A delivery driver finds a wallet and drains the cash from the ATM card inside. Logically, that's theft. But in the TikTok comments, you'll see a disturbing number of people defending him, saying things like finders keepers or his lucky day. When you see hundreds of comments justifying a crime, that repeated idea starts to seep in. Whether people are just trolling or genuinely believe it, this constant exposure can warp our own moral compass. This is the illusory truth effect in action, and it's how flawed thinking spreads like wildfire on the platform. Second, the creation of bizarre, unrealistic standards. The next thing that happens is the birth of what I call TikTok standards. These are nonsensical, overgeneralized opinions that somehow become accepted truth, largely because they go viral without any critical thought. For example, you'll see videos creating arbitrary rules for dating. A video might claim that if a guy doesn't text you good morning every single day, he's not serious about you. Or if a woman has a certain hobby, she's low value. These are ridiculous, baseless claims, but you'll see thousands of comments agreeing and adopting them as fact. A tiny, insignificant detail suddenly becomes a deal breaker. This combination of a powerful algorithm and a lack of critical thinking creates a feedback loop where strange, illogical standards become the norm. Third, it can damage your real-life relationships. Once those bizarre standards take root in your mind, they start to poison your real-world perspective. You might start feeling inadequate or looking at your own life and thinking, why isn't it like this? When in reality, your life is perfectly fine. You're just measuring it against an impossible online-generated ruler. And it gets worse, these standards can actively destroy relationships. I used to think that was an exaggeration, but the evidence is all over the platform. I've seen testimonials in the comments from people whose relationships ended over these unrealistic expectations. I've heard it from my own friends. One told me his girlfriend got angry at him for suggesting they split the bill on a date. She had seen countless TikToks saying that if a man doesn't pay for everything, he's cheap or not a real man. Who made that rule? A harmless suggestion to split a check now gets you labeled, all because a viral opinion became an accepted standard. Your expectations for your partner get warped, and before you know it, a healthy relationship is strained over something completely illogical. I'm sure you've seen some of these crazy relationship standards. Feel free to share the wildest one you've seen in the comments. Fourth, it steals your sense of gratitude. Let me ask you, what's a simple thing that makes you happy? For many of us, true happiness comes from gratitude, feeling content and at peace with what we have. But non-stop scrolling is the enemy of gratitude. Think about it. You might have been perfectly happy with your life before. But now, after hours of seeing curated highlight reels, people with luxury homes, sports cars, and constant international travel, it's almost impossible not to start comparing. That little seed of why not me gets planted in your brain. Suddenly, the contentment you felt with your own life starts to fade. It gets replaced by envy, anxiety, and a feeling of not enough. That's because we are naturally wired to compare ourselves to others. So TikTok doesn't just take your time, it can actively steal your happiness. And fifth, the destruction of your attention span. This last one is critical, especially for your future. You've probably heard the term attention span, the length of time your brain can focus on a single task without getting distracted. TikTok, with its endless stream of 15-second videos, is training your brain to crave constant, rapid-fire stimulation. Each new video is a tiny hit of dopamine, a reward. Your brain gets used to this instant gratification. The result? Your ability to focus on long-form tasks like reading a book, studying for an exam, or even watching a full movie plummets. It kills your productivity and makes deep learning incredibly difficult. If you're struggling to focus in high school, imagine how much harder college or your career will be. Don't let this scrolling habit sabotage your future. So what's the solution? It's simple but not easy. You have to be intentional. Start by cutting back. Replace the habit. Instead of filling every spare moment with scrolling, dedicate 30 minutes to an activity that requires sustained focus, like reading a book, listening to a podcast without multitasking, or working on a hobby. Retrain your brain. If you have your own strategies for breaking the scrolling addiction, please share them in the comments below so we can all learn from each other. The key is to be a critical consumer of content, not a passive one. Don't let algorithms and bizarre standards dictate your reality. By swapping out mindless scrolling for habits that improve your life, you can take back your time, your happiness, and your focus. If you found this video helpful, please hit the like button and share it with a friend who might need to hear this. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.